So they're just admitting it now. So Zelensky gave a speech to the chambers of commerce in Boca Raton.
Oh, great. One of the best.
He gave it. Zelensky thanks BlackRock. Well, let's listen. Here we go.
It is obvious that American business can become the locomotive that will...
First of all I hear is, the plane, boss. That's what it sounds like.
Oh, yes.
He sounds like Hervé Villacek.
Yeah.
And
I thought it was being dubbed.
The locomotive.
Boss, the plane. All right, here we go.
It is obvious.
And by the way, so there is, he said that sending Ukraine heavier weapons like Abrams tanks represents a big business opportunity for U.S. corporations. So there is going to be some good that comes out of this. Okay, here we go.
It is obvious that American business can become the locomotive that will once again push forward global economic growth. We have already managed to attract attention and have cooperation with such giants of the international financial and investment world as BlackRock, JP Morgan, and Goldman Sachs, such American brands as...
I like how he says those words. We've attracted BlackRock, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs. I love Golden
Socks.
Have you seen the Golden Socks?
Yeah.
Okay, here you go.
Starlink or Westinghouse have already become part of our Ukrainian way. Your brilliant defense systems, such as HIMARS or Bradleys, are already uniting our history of freedom with your enterprises. We are waiting for Patriots. We are looking closely at Abrams. Thousands of such examples are possible, and everyone can become a big business by working with Ukraine in all sectors, from weapons and defense to construction, from communication.
Everything from weapons and defense to constructing the shit those weapons blow up and then making more weapons to blow up the shit we just fixed.
I think I'm going to move to Ukraine.
It's the cycle of a cut. It's great.
A lot of opportunity right now.
A lot of opportunity.
To agriculture, from transport to IT, from banks to medicine. And I believe that freedom must always win.
I love how he says BlackRock, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, from everything from this to that to building, construction to weapons. But oh, by the way, freedom. I'm sorry, what? Freedom? That's right. This is about freedom. Right at the end, he slips it in. This is about freedom. Holy shit! I almost forgot. This is about freedom. So here's the interesting thing about that. Aaron, you tweeted this out. The feeling is mutual. BlackRock plans to turn Ukraine into a beacon of capitalism, and Goldman Sachs says that Ukraine's reconstruction will offer good economic incentives for a real return and real investment. Why do I never get in on the ground floor of these great investments? I'm over here like a chump worrying about the massive loss of life and possible nuclear war. See, this is what separates rich dad from poor dad right here.
He's talking like poor dad right now.
So, Aaron, let me bring in Aaron Maté, award-winning Russiagate debunker. Are you surprised he's just saying it like this now? That, hey, Ukraine's a great business opportunity, whether it be weapons or reconstructing all the shit that the weapons blow up?
I'm not, because Zelensky is speaking to his real constituency, and that is the elite in NATO states.
That's right.
And that quote there from the head of BlackRock and Goldman Sachs, they're saying that at Davos, another gathering of the elite. That's where they were bragging about how Ukraine's going to be turned into a beacon of capitalism. And I have two thoughts, listening to Zelensky gush over the opportunities in Ukraine as his country is being destroyed. First of all, I want Bernie Sanders to hear that clip, because Bernie Sanders is someone who at home will rail against BlackRock and Goldman Sachs, while still in Ukraine vote for billions of dollars to fund the proxy war that Zelensky is a part of. And so I wish Bernie Sanders could try to make the connection. How is it that I will rail against BlackRock at home and oppose them, but then overseas, I am 100% in lockstep with their agenda. I am helping to turn Ukraine into what BlackRock calls a beacon of capitalism, after, of course, it gets destroyed in the proxy war that we are fueling. So it's amazing to me that progressives can claim that they're respecting their values in funding this proxy war while listening to admissions from Zelensky like this and from BlackRock and Goldman Sachs as well. That's the first point. The second,
go ahead. So it's the second point.
Well, the second point is that this is a fulfillment of a neoliberal agenda that was a major cause of the 2014 Maidan coup. Because if you go back to that period, okay, so the president that was overthrown in a U.S.-backed coup was Yanukovych. And what set off the protests against him, which the U.S. exploited, it was that Yanukovych was going to sign an agreement to bring Ukraine closer to the European Union. And that's what he wanted to do. He campaigned on that. But then he read the fine print. And the fine print of that agreement, which was heavily pushed by the EU and the U.S., was that Ukraine would have to cut subsidies to pensioners, reduce wages, and also cut energy subsidies for needy people inside of Ukraine. And so Yanukovych read this and was like, okay, well, this is political suicide for me. Yanukovych was very, very corrupt, but he understood that if he signed this agreement to cut all these benefits for his people, he would be wiped out politically. And in response, the EU was not offering any subsidies, or nearly not enough subsidies, to cover for this. And when Yanukovych rejected that and said, I'm going to try to find a better deal from Russia, or at least I'm going to play Russia and the EU against each other to try to get a better deal for my country, that's when the Maidan protest broke out against him, and the U.S. exploited that to overthrow him. And we've seen since a fulfillment of the neoliberal austerity policies that Yanukovych had rejected, and Zelensky bragging about what a great place for global capitalism his country will be, really is the culmination of that.
I cannot believe. Well, I can, because the people who run the media are the military-industrial complex. They're part of the people who run the media. It certainly is run for corporations, and they're the biggest ones. They're the most profitable, the military-industrial complex. And I don't think people, people turn on the news like they watch this guy Ali Veshi, and no matter who I just pick him out of the hat because he pretends he's not he pretends he's not doing pro-war propaganda, which of course he is. He's getting people killed. He's getting hundreds of thousands of people. He's helping them become slaughtered, and it's all for an economic war. And people like Ali Veshi will wrap it in freedom and fighting evil.
Do you mean people who will literally say anything to get out of Canada? And so they'll say anything to keep their job at MSNBC. And so if he said that this was an economic war, it has nothing to do with free, he would be fired. Sure. And so but that's why we get to do the job here. And that's why places like CNN, the New York Times, and Washington Post try to write hit pieces on YouTube news shows so that we get deplatformed. And because we're an actual threat to their business model, we have bigger audiences than they do. I'm glad that Zelensky did this. I don't think this will help change anyone's mind about the Ukraine war. Do you?
Any normal person who's not a politician or who's not incentivized to go along with the propaganda like many employees of media companies are, I think we'll see this and understand what this is about. So I do think the more facts come out, the more people will be enlightened. That's why we all do what we do, to try to bring the facts to the people and to try to break through the propaganda wall. And I do think that admissions like this are very helpful in exposing the reality.
Fingers crossed, I hope. All right, well, everybody check out Aaron Maté at his Substack, mate.substack.com. Check out his show, Pushback, at grayzone.com.
Pushback.
Thanks for coming on, and Aaron will be back, I'm sure, guest hosting in the near future. So thanks again. Aaron Maté, ladies and gentlemen. What?
If I could plug one thing, every Friday now at the Gray Zone, Max Blumenthal and I are doing a live stream. We'll do it at a non-Jimmy Dore show time. But tune into that because we'll be covering the Ukraine proxy war and many other issues every Friday at the Gray Zone's YouTube page. So check that out.
Okay, fantastic. Hey, we're doing live stand-up comedy in Los Angeles, Tempe, Arizona, Palm Springs, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, Nashville, Northampton, Massachusetts, and a lot more places. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets and become a premium member while you're there. You get access to all of our stuff. See you then.